Guys, the Read Aloud book for today is titled Amelia Earhart, and it is written by Isabel Sanchez Vegara and illustrated by Maria Diamantes. And this is a book about Amelia Earhart, who was the first woman to fly the most dangerous mission of all, which was to fly all the way around the world. So she was a real pilot um, who is one of the explorers that we can talk about when we learn about explorers and connections. So I'm going to read you this book. Amelia Earhart, Little People, Big Dreams. When Amelia was a little girl, she liked to imagine she could stretch her wings and fly like a bird. When she was older, she went to an air show. The planes soared into the sky, leaving Amelia on the ground. She wished she could go with them and see what they saw. She got on a ride in an airplane and liked it so much she didn't want to ever come down. Raise your hand if you've been in an airplane before. Raise your hand if you liked it. Raise your hand if you were nervous or scared. She loved flying ever since she was little, though. So Amelia learned to fly. After months of practicing, she became the first woman to fly up to 14,000 feet. So she made a goal for herself. Ever since she was little, she loved airplanes and flying. And she said, you know what? When I grow up, I want to be a pilot. And she was the first woman to do it. Look at that. 14,000 feet. With a mechanic and a pilot, she was also the first woman to try and fly over the enormous Atlantic Ocean. As they set off, she waved at whales far beneath her. So she was the first person to fly over the Atlantic, which is one of the oceans in the world. After many hours, they reached land. The world looked so small, so small. The houses and cars were like toys. When you go really high up and you look down, it just looks like little toys and you see the world from above. Even though Amelia wasn't flying the plane, when they landed, she became famous. People around the world were inspired by her story. Yes, Amelia Earhart is really famous, and she's very well known because she was one of the first women pilots, and she flew all around the world. Amelia thought that every girl deserved to fly, so she founded a club with 98 other fearless pilots. A little later, she flew across the Atlantic all by herself. So she wanted to make a club just for girls, and she made a goal to fly by herself over the ocean Atlantic. As her 40th birthday approached, Amelia decided she wanted one final challenge to fly around the world. A brave navigator went with her. So she made a new goal for herself to fly all the way around the world. She was the first person to do that. And she brought a navigator with her. Do you know what a navigator is? They flew for thousands of miles over oceans and jungles, over the savannah where giraffes turn their heads in their trail. Some people said their journey was crazy. But Amelia wasn't afraid of living 1,000 adventures, so she flew on like a bird, farther than anyone had gone before, never to return. Uh-oh. Because Amelia always followed her own advice, if you want to do something, do it. You never know how far you could get. So, wow, what happened to her? She went to go around the world, and then did you hear what happened? Never to return? What does that mean? Look at Amelia Earhart, born 1897, disappeared in 1937. So she's also really famous because she went on this flight and nobody knows where she went. She just disappeared. Some people say she crashed in the ocean, but nobody really knows. Nobody has found her. So this is called a timeline, and it has photographs of Amelia Earhart because that's who this book was about. And it tells you about her life and what years things happened. And there are tons of books about different famous people. So this is kind of like a biography book where it tells you about her life because she was a very famous explorer who disappeared. So I hope you guys enjoyed that book. And I also hope that it made you think of a lot of questions because remember, good readers ask lots of questions when they're reading. So if you still have questions about Amelia Earhart, I would encourage you to do some research and read more books about what, if you can find what happened to her, because nobody knows. It's a mystery. But I hope you guys have a good day.